Spirit Wind lawyer of the GMS Mississippi camp, giving all honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chahakodash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. All right, and today I want to go into a topic entitled Remember Psalm 137. All right, remember Psalm 137. I was watching one of the elders' video on his live streams last night. One of the brothers, all right, and he was going into what today was going to be, and I actually forgot. But I remember that day, all right. I remember that day, and I was going to my third grade class. Not third grade. I was in the sixth grade, but I was going to my third period class, all right. And my teacher, Miss Lassiter, she was like, something terrible has happened to our country. And then she directed us towards the TV, and it was supposed to have been the planes hitting the towers, but the first few seconds of me watching it, I thought it was a movie they were talking about. Like, I didn't connect the dots initially. So I thought that was a movie they were talking about, like a new movie that was, coming out. When they showed the alleged planes hit the towers. All right. And then it showed the building collapse. And, me being 11 years old, I think I was 11. Yeah, me being 11, part of my upbringing was, Christianity, but also being told about the second coming. And I thought about terms like Judgment Day, which really shook me up. And then the year prior, I had a preacher that had like a Wednesday class, or it might have been Tuesday class, but he taught the youth. And one thing that he would always go into was like the last days, the hour of temptation, and the lake of fire, which he didn't know that it was America, but he was a pretty grave teacher, that sobered my ass up as a 10-year-old. Had me shook. But that's what kind of kept me from just wilding out too much. Just the thought of the Lord coming back, the hour of temptation, and all those things. So for the next year, those alleged planes that hit, it shook me up. Just to give some context, just to paint a picture. But we're not supposed to remember slavery, all right? We're not supposed to remember Tulsa, Oklahoma, because I believe just as much or more people died, all right, when Esau bombed Black Wall Street and had those race riots. All right, we're not supposed to remember those underground towns, those buried towns, all right? We're not supposed to remember all the atrocities that has happened to us during slavery, all right, after slavery, all right, even now. We're not supposed to remember, all right? What about Psalms 137? King David brought it back 3,000 years ago for a future judgment that hasn't happened yet. He said, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. Meaning when the Babylonians conquered Judea, or the southern kingdom of Judah, all right, Esau cheered on the Babylonians. It basically said, erase it, finish them, delete them, even to the foundation, They didn't help us. They didn't use their gift as being the sword to help us. No, they helped the Babylonians, all right, capture us. Oh, there goes a nigga over there. There goes a nigga hiding. It was bad, man. It was bad. But King David said, remember that. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. All right? Now that I'm a grown man, right, and Most High has given me the knowledge of this truth, I understand that 9/11, first of all, was an inside job. And secondly, that's not the Israelites' problem. Let's say it was not an inside job, which it was an inside job to justify going over in the Middle East, all right, to fight some alleged terrorists. All right, but let's say it wasn't an inside job, and Esau really did have that happen to him 24 years ago. All right, let's say that did happen. Well, that's not our problem. You know, our enemy has enemies. Good. You know, but the world was pretty shook up 24 years ago. Man, that was a minute ago. You know, time is flying, man. But I remember vividly because I was still a young boy, but I was 11. But I was shook up, man. That's how I remember. I was shook up because it felt like the last days. It felt like the end of the world. Of everything that I was afraid of, I felt that was happening. All right. But you know, that's the beginning of Esau's world, man. And that's a horrible mindset to make us not want to remember slavery, remember the atrocities that's happened to us during slavery, after slavery. All right, the covert atrocities is happening to us now, man. Jake is getting unalived by all types of levels of the sword, man. All right, it's a Jake in the military on social media. I think it was on Instagram, and he did a video directing it to the YNs in Chicago, to the young niggas in Chicago, the 2/3 in Chicago. And he was like, please don't take this lightly. In so many words, he was like, please don't take this lightly. Man, they got weapons that hit you before you realize you was hit. They'll know it within a fraction of a second. They'll know where your family at. They'll know all these different things, man. All right, when Esau hits, he hits, man. Don't take this lightly, man. It's not gonna be like the freaking Civil War, whereas their army versus your army, y'all clash into each other, man. Like he said, don't take the bait, man. All right. First of all, Esau has several branches of military, but his level of technology in regards to the sword is, oh man, is unmatched because that's his gift. Okay? But even with all that being said, his gift is unmatched towards the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies. They're playing with those missiles. The chariots and outer space, they're playing with those missiles, man. The chariots in his atmosphere, they're playing with the missiles, man. They're deactivating the missiles, they're doing all type of things, man. Because this Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai's earth. Alright, and you're gonna have to go to war against those so-called spaceships, man. You're going to have to go to war. And it's not gonna be some old war from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, where ships was actually shooting cannons at each other. No, that's not what I mean when I say spaceships. These are different type of ships. Alright. The chariots of Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai, which are mentioned in the scripture. Alright? They're mentioned in the scriptures. It's unmatched in regards to their strength. That's the arms of the everlasting Father, man. All right? But that's pretty much the freaking point. You know, Esau has his day of remembrance, but we have many days of remembrance in which we could tell Yahweh Bahasham Shai, remember, O Lord, remember, O Lord, remember, O Lord. Remember Esau did this, remember Esau did that. Man, we have a lot of those days, man. The things that hit our people, man, and us waiting for Gad to go hunting. Can't forget about Gad. Just the pillage, rape, all right, the village, the women, the children. Wait a minute, Esau, you had guns and you still waited to Gad to go. You still waited for Gad to go hunting. And the Most High put a sword in the base man's hand. He went buck wild, man. But the thing about you, Esau, you have to be judged. You're going to be judged by the Lord of hosts. All right, because you have nobody to judge you. You can't throw yourself in prison. You're the judge, the jury, the plaintiff, the executioner. You're all those. So a higher power has to judge you, and that's what you're being faced against. You're gonna have your Project Bluebeam for your own propaganda, for your own agenda, but we actually have the chariots of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, and what you call, I believe, UAPs, UFOs, IFOs. But that the chariots, the famous chariots of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, mentioned throughout the scriptures. Okay? And when it comes to remembering, all right, Joel, the 3rd chapter, sums up Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai remembering what the other nations did in regards to our people during the global slave trade, man. It's the combination of the results, all right? It's the results of the verdict being made concerning Esau and the other nations in regards to the global slave trade, dealing with the 12 tribes of Israel, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American. All right? It sums it up, man. All right? World War III is the result of what Esau and the other nations did during the global slave trade. Okay? Guess who remembers that? Guess who remembers who pierced them over 2,000 years ago while he was on the cross? Guess who remembers, man? And those chariots are coming, man. Can you imagine ships entering into this atmosphere twice the length of the continent United States? That's some scary stuff, man. Twice the size of this continent, North America. All right? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine chariots, so-called spaceships that exist several times, thousands of times larger than the planet Earth itself? All right? See, from Esau's perspective, there's no other existence outside of his existence. There's no power outside of the limitations of his power structure. So when you see so-called UFOs toying with the missiles, deactivating the missiles, all right, they're just an inkling of what they can actually do. Because even those little jabs that you see, how a chariot will bump into a missile or deactivate a missile, that says a lot from your enemy without him even doing a whole lot. You know? You know what I mean? That's like you the big bully on the block, right? You the big bully on the block. Everybody's afraid of you, Debo type stuff, right? But you go home, all right, and your deadbolt locks are broken. You know, your ATM machine doesn't. Not your ATM machine. Your AT&T security system. I forgot what you called it, but your security system is deactivated. So you walk in, the alarm doesn't go off. Your deadbolt locks are broken. It's like, wait a minute, I just walked in my house and my little security system didn't detect anything. Like, whoa, what happened? And it's showing you that somebody is saying, fuck your little defense system, all right? You go in, all your bullets from your guns are gone. You know what I mean? Little things like that, a little message saying, look, you're not impenetrable. You can be touched, all right? You're not impenetrable. You can be touched. Your weapons can be deactivated. It's little, but it's the big message. And that kills the inner morale of the strength of the enemy. It kills the morale of the military, man, without even doing a whole lot. You know? But remember, you know, we've had plenty of 911s. Plenty. Hundreds, thousands times over. All right? What Esau has done to the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. What the other nations partook of when Esau took down the nation of Israel. All right? Yeah, several of those, man. Hundreds of those, thousands of 911s, man. Right? And with that, I hope this was of edification. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashor Chahakudash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles, elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Abba, Come Yashua,